We've got some huge moves in the business world today. SpaceX is making a massive play in AI, and you won't believe this historic trade deal between the US and India. It's got some major ripple effects. Plus, we'll get into a key legal decision for a pretty well-known tech founder. So let's just jump right in.
So let's kick things off with a number that's, well, it's just staggering. We're talking about a $1.25 trillion merger.
Next up, we're going to unpack a landmark trade deal. Seriously, this thing could totally shift global supply chains and has some major geopolitical implications.
And to round things out, we've got a legal ruling that really makes you think. It's raising some big questions about where responsibility lies in the digital age. All right, let's dive in. Okay, first up, Elon Musk. It looks like he's bringing his empires together. See, the acquisition of xAI by SpaceX, it isn't just about that massive price tag. Nope, it's about an even bigger vision for the future of artificial intelligence. So yeah, the deal values this new combined company at a mind-boggling $1.25 trillion. xAI itself was snapped up for around $50 billion. But honestly, the real story here, the genius part, is in the strategy. And this right here, this slide really just lays out the incredible multi-year chess game he's been playing. Think about it. Step 1, acquire Twitter, now X of course, for its insane amount of real-time data. Step 2, use all that data to train a brand new AI model, xAI. And the final move, the checkmate, merging it all with SpaceX to use its global satellite network. I mean, it is a masterclass in vertical integration.
And what this all leads to is a concept that is a total game changer: direct-to-device AI. The plan is to literally build solar-powered data centers in space and hook them up to the Starlink satellite network. Just try to picture this: AI capabilities being beamed straight to your phone or your car or a robot with absolutely no need for internet on the ground. Wild. And here's where you can really see all the pieces clicking together. This space-based AI network, it could power Tesla's Optimus robots anywhere on the planet. It could provide the massive, insane computing power needed for true, legit self-driving cars. And to top it all off, you've got Tesla's solar tech potentially powering these data centers in orbit. It's a completely self-contained ecosystem. All right, let's shift gears now to our next huge story. We're talking about a landmark trade agreement between India and the United States. And trust me, this has some really significant economic and geopolitical implications. So what's at the core of this whole deal? Well, it's all about cutting those reciprocal trade tariffs. The rate is set to drop from a pretty contentious 25% all the way down to 18%. And that, of course, is going to make it a whole lot cheaper to trade goods between the two countries. Now, this is very much a two-way street. On one hand, India has committed to buying $500 billion worth of U.S. stuff. We're talking mainly energy and tech. And they've also agreed to rely less on Russian oil. So what does the U.S. do in return? They're going to lower tariffs on products made under the Make in India initiative. That's India's big push for domestic manufacturing. This is a huge boost for their competitiveness. And you just can't ignore the geopolitical angle here. It's massive. In a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump actually came right out and linked this deal to the war in Ukraine. His take is that if India shifts its oil purchases away from Russia, that could be a major factor in, de-escalating the whole conflict. Okay, so this chart right here really shows you the real-world impact. See, with that old 25% tariff, Indian textiles, they were struggling to compete with rivals in the region, like Vietnam and Bangladesh. But drop that down to 18%, suddenly India becomes a way more attractive option. They could potentially grab a huge chunk of the market share.
All right, let's move on to a legal story that's been all over the headlines in India. This one involves the founder of Shoddy.com, Anupam Mittal, and it brings up a really critical question for pretty much every tech platform out there. So here's the bottom line. The Supreme Court has granted Anupam Mittal protection from arrest. The whole case started because a user on his matrimonial site was unfortunately defrauded. So this ruling is a big sigh of relief for Mittal, at least for now. So what's the platform side of the story? Well, their core defense really comes down to their terms of service. Shoddy.com is basically saying, hey, we clearly warn our users not to send money or do financial stuff outside the platform. They're putting the responsibility, the onus, back on the individual to be careful. But, this case really opens up a much bigger, more important question for all of us in this digital age, right? Where does a platform's responsibility end, and where does a user's begin? I mean, as these scams get more and more sophisticated, Is a simple warning enough? Or do these platforms need to step up with stricter verification and security to really protect people?
Okay, let's do a quick fire round on two of India's corporate giants, Adani and Reliance. They are both making some major strategic plays, but in some very, very different fields.
First up, Adani Group is going big into defense manufacturing. They've teamed up with the Italian aerospace giant Leonardo, and get this, they have an ambitious goal to produce 1,000 helicopters in India over the next decade. They're trying to build a whole domestic manufacturing ecosystem from the ground up. And over on the other side, you've got Reliance making a really smart, shrewd move in the entertainment world. They've bought a 50% stake in Sikya Entertainment. Now, this is a production house that's known for these critically acclaimed, low-budget films that do really well. It definitely signals a strategic shift. They're focusing on high-return, content-driven movies instead of just pouring money into giant blockbusters.
All right, to wrap things up, let's take a quick look at the market watch. How did the markets react to all this news? We'll check in on the EV sector and the overall market vibe.
So, in the EV world, Ather Energy is showing some really positive signs. The revenue is climbing, and this is key, their losses are getting smaller. But they did throw out a word of caution. Rising global prices for commodities could drive up their material costs. That could definitely put a squeeze on their profits down the line. But the broader market, it absolutely loved the trade deal news. It reacted with pure optimism. India's Nifty index shot up by nearly 2.5%. That's a super clear signal that investors are feeling really good about this landmark agreement with the US.
And that leaves us with one final thought, one big question. So we know tariffs on auto parts were part of this whole discussion. So the big question for a lot of people, maybe even you, is this. Will this huge geopolitical deal actually trickle down and mean something tangible, like lower car prices here in India? It's definitely something we're going to be keeping a close eye on.